Hello, this is the Tradesight US Stocks Futures and Forex Market Preview and International Economic Data Roadmap for the week beginning Sunday the 29th of August 2021 and ending Friday September 3rd. Lots to talk about as we finally are coming out of summer. This could be the last week of doldrums left, hopefully. Maybe we even get some excitement this week. You never really know, but we're coming up on what? Next weekend is a 3-day weekend. Monday the 6th of September is Labor Day here in the U.S., so we'll be closed, which traditionally means this next Friday, September 3rd, will be very boring as well. People extend out the weekend, and it's the official end of summer this whole week. So, I'm not going to set any high expectations. It's just how it works. But we'll see what we get. Let's start by looking at the dollar index daily chart. Not much movement at all this week. Friday was the biggest ranged day of the week. Let's go through the major Forex pairs. Euro dollar is the inverse of the dollar index. It was not very interesting this week. The pound dollar, also uneventful. A little wider each day, but really you'll see the ranges when we look at them. Not very exciting. The Aussie dollar popped back up a bit after making new lows. The euro yen, very tiny action. The pound yen also very tiny action. Remember, Forex is the one that suffers the most, usually in August. This August does not seem to be an exception. Matter of fact, only by about 40 pips, which is not a big deal, but we are tracking for our first negative month of the year in any asset class in Forex. And this is what happens many Augusts. This is why we are half size right now. So we need to make up 40 pips over the next week, or actually by Wednesday, where it's going to be a negative, slightly negative month. Nothing major, and other than that, we've had positive months January through July, in stocks, futures, and Forex. So I think stocks and futures are going to be positive here, even if stock market's been very, very slow. But Forex may give us a negative result for August, and that's why we're half size. All right, so here's a look at the Euro-dollar 30-minute chart, and this is why we have a problem. Look at this. I mean, the whole high to low for the week is about 100 pips. Usually we trade 130 pips per day on average on the the euro dollar. And if you take out the pop on Friday after Powell's comments, realistically speaking, the bulk of this week was in a 50 pip range, which is just remarkable and completely untradeable. Pound dollar had a big day on Monday and gave us 160 pips for the week, which, by the way, is typically 130-40 pips is, again, the average daily move on the pound dollar. But if you take Monday out, then the high to low of the week is at 100 pips, and that was also covered on Friday. You'll notice on the 30-minute candles, the high on Friday was a 13 sell signal or exhaustion signal. So it is what it is. All right, let's talk about something that should be more exciting but isn't. Once again, here's the stock market, the ES front month futures contract, daily chart of the broad market in futures form. And these candles, look at how narrow they have been. And again, I urge people who are traders to go back. And even though it's since kind of been this boring, slight trend, a lot of flat and then high, a little higher and flat and a little higher, look at the days back in January, February, and March. I mean, at least they had a range. The candles were bigger. We had a couple days early in July, and we talked about the fact that when you get halfway through the year and the statements print, sometimes there's an influx or outflux of money. It looks like it was an influx in July. But you take that 1 week out, you see those 5 white candles at the start of July. And other than that, May, June, and July in August have been these incredibly narrow candles. Even April for the most part. So it's just been, we've had some nice stuff in April and May. I wouldn't say June or certainly July was that interesting. August has been probably going to be less stock trades in August than almost any month of the year. So we just had to be very picky, but this usually ends after Labor Day. We get back to work. So keep that in mind. Crude oil up Friday, $1.25 to 68.67 as another storm barrels down on, this time, New Orleans. Same bat time, same bat channel, 16 years later since Katrina. Gold up 25.3 after that weird dip a couple weeks back. S&P cash on a gap up and more, gains 39.37 after Powell's comments. NASDAQ 100 up 154, new closing highs on both sides of the market, which is really interesting when the Fed's saying they're going to stop the pump. We'll see what happens. 66 points up on the SOX on Friday. Almost to new highs. And this thing, though, this is a great example. Look at the SOX since January. I mean, really not very interesting. Very mild, slight uptrend, but overall just a back and forth flat wave. Biotech's up 17 points. There's a cup and handle here forming. Maybe that's a little more constructive. Russell 2000 gained 63. This thing has just been, this is horrible. You just start from January 27th or so and go all the way to here, and it is just as flat as I've never seen the Russell 2000. I mean, you're talking about 8 months there. So I've never seen it like that. The VIX closes down $2.45 after trying to run up the other day, back to 1639. This is, it's fine, but it's not where we like to see it, right? The trend closes at 0.76, puts the 10-day moving average at 1.04, which is not a signal for us. NASDAQ volume barely hit 4 billion shares after only hitting 3.5 on Wednesday and Thursday. And those are two of the lightest volume days of the year. So, volume, and this is it. Like, look at the volume back in January, February, and March, which was just off the charts a lot. And then that's when the candles start to get narrow. But, it doesn't have to go quite as in sync as that. In other words, the market can be kind of boring and not have every great day. But the ranges have just been so bad, particularly from May on. I don't know. We'll see. Advanced decline ratio on the NASDAQ plus 2188. So way more stocks up than down on the New York plus 2163. That's, I think, that's the biggest, most positive breath day of the year. It's a weird day for that. Google gains 51.27 new closing highs on Google as it just continues to climb. Apple up $1, not at new highs, not doing anything for the last month and a half. Netflix up $8.80. Trying to break out a bit here. Amazon up 33.63. By the way, I wanted to point out Netflix has that 13 sell signal in place, and we're coming up on the risk line. So if you're not already short, that's going to be the place to do it. Tesla up $10.76. About to get a 13 sell signal, by the way. The 13 buy signal back in the end of April was actually on the money. So we'll see what happens. Facebook up $8.25. Not much here. Zoom up 18 cents. Can't say that we care that much about that one. Goldman Sachs up $7.28. I'm trying to break the highs, but can't really hold up there. TLT, the 20-year bond ETF, up $1 penny. So rates go lower, bonds go higher. Dow is up 242, not new highs. Bitcoin was back up to 49,000 after dipping earlier in the week, but it was over 50,000 really earlier in the week. So we'll see what that means. In terms of intra-week action, let's switch this. Here's the ES, and we'll switch it to 10-minute candles so you can see the whole week. And again, just not exciting. I mean, on Monday you got the gap up and you pushed for an hour, and then from that point on, the rest of Monday, all of Tuesday, all of Wednesday, and really Thursday, even though Thursday got a little bit jiggy, just really, really flat action that entire area. I mean, untradeable Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday was just a little bit of a surprise move on the dip down as we got some explosions out of Kabul. And then Friday, Powell's comments, we gap up and closed higher. So again, a lot of the week is just the gap. Again, very important to see. Like, look at that ES. If I go back to the ES, the gap up on Monday and the gap up on Friday, and I mean that accounts for, the whole thing's basically a 70-point move. But you can account for probably 30 points of that in the gaps. So it's really not very interesting. But again, like I said, it usually ends coming out of Labor Day, and we are in the week before Labor Day. The other thing to keep in mind, even though it's just August and it's not a quarter end, statements do print on Tuesday. So just monthly statements for summer, it's not probably a big deal, because probably nothing will be a big deal again this week. Let's hope so. Let's hope something happens, but don't be surprised if it doesn't. So Tuesday, statements print. Friday, most people gone. And now let's talk about what else is going on out there. Retail sales out of Japan Sunday. These are all Eastern Standard Time. German preliminary CPI, Spanish flash CPI. This is Monday. UK's on bank holiday to start the week. That won't help, and that'll make Forex even flatter. Current account out of Canada. Pending home sales here in the U.S. Monday night. Building consensus out of New Zealand. The unemployment rate, preliminary industrial production out of Japan. Manufacturing PMI out of China. ANZ business confidence, building approvals and current account out of Australia, consumer confidence out of Japan, and housing starts, French consumer spending, French preliminary CPI, French preliminary GDP, German unemployment change, you got the UK money supply, mortgage approvals, net lending to individuals, CPI flash estimate, CPI, Italian preliminary CPI, Italian 10-year bond auction, Canada's got their GDP number. 9 a.m. on Tuesday, we've got the housing price index here in the U.S., Chicago PMI at 945, consumer confidence at 10. Australia's got their AIG manufacturing index that night. UK's BRC shop price index, capital spending out of Japan, final manufacturing PMI out of Japan. GDP out of Australia, CACSN manufacturing PMI out of China, German retail sales, we're going to Wednesday now, nationwide housing price index out of the UK, commodity prices out of Australia, Spanish manufacturing PMI, Swiss manufacturing PMI, Italian, French, German manufacturing PMI, then the broad European sector. Got the unemployment rate out of Italy, a final manufacturing PMI out of the UK, the unemployment rate out of the broad European sector. OPEC meetings begin. U.S. ADP non-farm employment change at 8:15 a.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday. Manufacturing PMI out of Canada, manufacturing PMI here in the U.S., along with our ISM manufacturing PMI, construction spending, and then our awards of total vehicle sales at some point. Crude oil inventories at 10:30. Overseas trade index out of New Zealand, monetary base out of Japan, trade balance out of Australia, 10-year bond auction out of Japan, Swiss CPI and retail sales, Swiss GDP, Spanish unemployment change out of Europe, PPI out of Europe, 10-year bond auction out of Spain, French 10-year bond auction, challenger job cuts here in the U.S., Canada's building permits and trade balance, U.S. initial and continuing jobless claims, that's the weekly number, along with our trade balance. So that's one of our big three for Forex. We're already going to be half size still, but we'll be less than half size ahead of that number that night, if anything is even available to call. The range has finally tightened up so much in Forex that it's almost not worth calling trades. That will end in September as well, usually. Factory orders here in the U.S., natty gas here in the U.S., AIG construction index out of Australia, retail sales out of Australia, CACSN services PMI out of China. And then Friday, we got the French government budget balance, Spanish services PMI, Italian services PMI, French final services PMI, German final services PMI, European final services PMI, same with the UK, retail sales out of Europe, and then we've got the unemployment rate here in the US along with the non-farm payrolls. That's another one of our big three. So we'll also be less than half size going into Friday if there's anything to call in Forex. Final services PMI here in the US at 9:45 and ISM services PMI at 10. To wrap up the week. So there's some data. You got a statements printing on Tuesday. You got some big numbers like the trade balance on Thursday and the unemployment rate on Friday. Go from there. Charts as usual brought to you by eSignal. If you've not yet taken a trial of our services, feel free to do so. We will help you out for a couple weeks. Have a great trading week.